Greg Shipman here on the third floor. We've got a special interview today with Abraham Kanz, who recently took Guild to first place in an event coming out of the Central Conference. Before we jump into that interview, let's talk about what's happening on the third floor. We are finishing up editing on our next episode of the Battlefield broadcast. It features Perdita against Sandeep. We should have that out here in the next couple weeks. We've got 2 events now logged and scored for Season 1 of USFT. Make sure that you're working with your local community to sign up for events and getting them sent to us so that we can score them and you can have a chance to make Masters next summer. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, check us out on Facebook as well as Twitter. If there's somebody you'd like me to interview here at the third floor, let me know in the comments. All right, let's check in with Abraham Kanz. Abe, welcome to the third floor.
Hey, thanks for having me here.
So, congratulations. You just recently took first place out of the Central Conference. It was a 3-round event, so I assume it was a one-dayer.
Yep.
So, first thing I noticed when you sent me all of your information is that you brought Guild. Are you traditionally a Guild player?
Yes, I actually have only played Guild in MacLeod since I started.
How long have you been playing?
I started, I think Wave 2 of 2nd edition is about where I started, actually.
Oh, so you've been playing Guild for a while then.
Yeah.
Cool. So, there was 9 players. And let's go ahead and jump into Game 1. So, what was the strategy for Game 1?
So the strategy for Game 1 was guard the stash, and this round was kind of cool because so Kyle actually grudge matched me because I've been at a number of Kyle's events previously, and we've never played each other. So this time he just said, "Hey, round 1, we're going to play each other definitely." So I got the chance to do that. So we're playing.
For those of you that don't know, that's Kyle from Schemes and Stones, aka Coyote, right? So,
yes.
So this is the first time you've ever played against him?
Yep, I was pretty excited about it. I mean, playing against kind of a Malifaux celebrity is pretty fun.
Yeah, no kidding. So with guard the stash, what master did you pick?
So round 1, I was pretty sure from the beginning I was going to go with Nelly, almost no matter what faction was declared, though being against Kyle, he's playing Rezzers right now, so I knew it was going to be Rezzers pretty much. And so the reason for Nelly is I really like her in this round. Do you have the list up on screen or not?
I do. Yeah, so here's the strats and
see the entire list. Cool. Okay. So this whole list actually draws a lot of cards. The activation control from Nelly is very good, and it just allows you to completely clear out one entire marker. It's actually very hard against this list to claim both markers as the enemy or to have models near them. I can clear one marker out almost completely with just between Nelly, investigators, and then I have some damage threats in the form of Fiona and the jury. So that's kind of why I went with that list.
So yeah, I used to be a Guild player. I'm playing Rezzers now, and Nelly was my go-to for a lot of pools. But guard the stash for the exact reasons you said, with all of the pushes. And now I didn't play Guild in Wave 5, so I didn't have Guild Investigators. So that's a multiplier as far as the pushes that you get there. So that seems like a real smart pick. What did Kyle bring?
So Kyle brought a Molly list, which was interesting. So we were both doing an Iron Scorpius, which is we each chose a different master for each round. Yep. And so he originally was thinking he was going to play Reva, but he wanted to save her for a later round that he thought she was better at. So he picked Molly. The Molly list had Sebastian, a bunch of little gassers, 2 Rotten Bells. A Necropunk for leaping around for covert breakthrough, which is a scheme he took. Mm-hmm. And so that was pretty much the whole thing of his list. Just get in there and summon with Molly around the markers and try to get around my back line with the Necropunk.
Yeah, I could see Molly because he knows where you're going to be, right, with the way that the strategy is, which of course helps with her summoning. So how did the game go? What were some of the kind of the big moments? So some of the big moments, turn 1, I got a little enthusiastic with my investigator pushes, and so I had Fiona and the jury kind of lured out of position, so I had to reposition them. So turn 1, I didn't get my good. I kind of wanted to go in on a model turn 1. I didn't end up doing that. There wasn't anything else huge turn 1 besides that. He set up Necropunk to go around my back line. And so the game really was a bit of a
actually a bit of a slog for both of us. I was passing activations a lot. I draw a lot of cards with that list. And so it really put Kyle on the back foot, making him try to anticipate what he could do, just, keep models near the markers.
Yep.
And so actually every turn I managed to keep Kyle from scoring the strategy.
Wow, very nice.
Yeah, it was just, I could always just out activate and then clear a marker. He was summoning stuff like Kentoroi eventually, but there's a Monster Hunter in that list, and it actually worked pretty well. I didn't realize this before, but the most he ever summoned a Kentoroi with was 3 wounds. And the Monster Hunter, I just stalked the Kentoroi, charged an attack, and then I'd draw 2 cards with the Monster Hunter. So it just helped me get more activations in the end.
Yeah.
Which was
very, very nice. So final score?
Huh?
Final score?
Final score on that, I think it was still pretty close. It ended up being, let's see, he scored 3. He scored 2 for covert. It might have been, and I scored 3. We didn't end up playing all 5 turns because it was such a positioning heavy game.
Sure.
If I remember, it might have been, I only scored 2 for, I took Guarded Treasure and I only scored 2 for it because I mispositioned 1 turn completely. I had my markers 7.9 inches apart instead of 8. That was, we were playing fast because I was like, oh no, we got to get through this game. And then I mispositioned the markers. So I think it might have been 4-2 in the end, something like that. It was pretty close.
So low scoring game.
Oh, yeah. Well, I kept him off the strategy. I got my strategy, but I lost a scheme point. We didn't get through all the turns, and Kyle got the points for the covert breakthrough, and he got 2 points for covert breakthrough, not all 3. And he at first thought he was going to take 1 for the team because Nelly got really close to Sebastian, but then I got to a mode where I'm like, no, we got to go fast with this game. And I started, instead of killing, just pushing, debuffing everything, and not killing anything. And so once I got to that mode, he was like, oh, crap, I'm not going to score that scheme. So that's kind of what kept him out of that game.
So you got 1 win. You got a smaller differential. Who did you end up facing in round 2?
Round 2 was Brian Spence, and he was playing Outcasts. And so I played Brian before. He's a really nice guy. And I also knew that, so round 2, as you can see, is a public executions round with flank deployment. My original plan for this was to bring Nelly. Not Nelly, was to bring Sonia. I already brought Nelly round 1. The thing is I know that Brian plays Outcast, and I know he really likes Von Schill. Mm-hmm. And so that scared me enough that I actually did not play Sonia this round. It turns out that was a good call because he did take Von Schill and the free core, whole crew. So blasting would have been pretty bad in that pool.
Yep.
The Sonia list I would have gone with would have just been similar to Duncan's list with the Investigator, Grimwell, the pushes, extra damage on Sonia. It's a good list. So I handed over this Perdita list instead, and it was kind of funny. After I presented him with the list, I realized that I had kind of whoopsied and selected the wrong list. I actually wanted a list with Perdita that also had a student of conflict because I wanted to give her still pretty much the same Sonia list but with students. Mm-hmm. But I played the list. I didn't like the Enslaved Nephilim because we already started so close, so I didn't need any pushes, but it is what it is, and I ended up playing it that way. So that's kind of the pregame, how it went.
So what schemes did you choose?
So for this round, I chose Show of Force and Public Demonstration on the Strong Arm suit. And my opponent chose Show of Force and Public Demonstration. Oh, no, sorry, not Public Demo. I chose Setup on Strong Arm suit, the scheme marker one. Yeah, Setup.
Gotcha.
And then he chose Public Demo on Perdita.
Got it. That's a dangerous pick because Perdita's pretty mobile, so that's interesting.
Yeah, it turns out this is the game I felt it the most. I haven't been playing a ton of Malifaux lately, and so I did some poor positioning this game, actually. Turn 2, I ended up being able to kill Hannah with Perdita,
nice.
Which was pretty good. I stacked a lot of rams and just blew through her armor, killed her. Turn 2, activation 1. The bad news was then Perdita was there, and I wasn't thinking about Public Demo. And so he just kind of walked. The funny thing is, as he was doing it, he walked all his minions up and was like, oh, I need to get a shot with the free core, trapper. And he was like, I can get a shot from there. It just happened to be within 6 of Perdita, so I didn't think about it.
Sure.
Is bad on my part. So he ended up scoring full points for that. We went back and forth on Show of Force. I denied it from him, but then I found out that Von Schill's upgrades he passes out do count for that.
Yep.
So that was pretty scary. Top of turn 3 is where this game really turned, and I actually thought it was just going to be a complete loss for me, because I drew my hand, and it was literally all weeks. Not an exaggeration, was just all weeks. Stoned for cards, drew the red joker and like a 6. So I had a moderate and a severe, and then all week. We were like, okay. Previously at the end of turn 2, Perdita had flipped black joker on defense and gotten a severe hit from the strong arm suit. So she was at like half health already.
Yeah.
We flipped for initiative. There was a whole crazy thing where like we tied on the flip, and then he flipped higher, so then I stoned and flipped higher, and then he stoned and flipped higher. Anyways, he won initiative in the end, went first with Von Schill, and I swear I didn't flip anything above like a 7, and he just cheated his whole hand and killed Perdita and almost killed Frank in the entirety, activation 1 of turn 2. Yeah, it's not a good way to start a turn.
Yeah.
So the rest of the turn I just like retreated with Frank, played really far back. And my opponent, Brian, and I talked about this because we're friendly with each other after we play. We have played against each other quite a few times. And he actually made a poor decision himself on this turn, which is what ended up... This round we actually tied. I did not win this round.
Oh, no kidding. Wow, okay.
Yeah. And that was because he didn't go after Frank again. He was scared I had to eliminate the leadership on Von Schill, and Schill had taken a decent amount of damage at this point. So he kind of played back with Von Schill, didn't charge him in. He charged Abuela with a strong arm suit, and she ended up living through that. And he had forgotten I had a scheme marker dropped in the center. And so I think this is the turn where I got a bunch of minions in there and dropped markers and scored my 3 for setup on strong arm suit. Because he finally, nice. I'd been waiting for him to try to dive into my back line to drop him, and he finally did. And so from there, we just ended up, we both scored 3 on one scheme. I ended up, we tied on show force, and we tied on public executions. So we just tied the whole round. It was a really good game. It's kind of funny because I'm interviewing for this, but he probably should have won that round, to be honest. Like, it was so close, and he just misplayed on that, and that happens, right? But it was not good play on my part. It was a great game on his part, though.
Gotcha. So what was the final score? We know it was tied.
It was 7-7, I believe.
7-7. Very nice. So now you're 1-0-1. You've got still a small diff, but obviously good enough to make top table. Who are you facing on round 3?
So my last round was against a guy named Forrest Hall, who I hadn't played against before. He was playing Rezzers. And so for this round, of course, the strategy, as you can see, was ours. And I chose Lucius into this.
Nice.
And so I really like Lucius in this round with the double Witchling Thralls and the Lures from the Beckoner and the Doppelganger, because it's real easy to score that Dig Their Graves, which is, of course, the schemes I took. And I also took Search the Ruins. So I figured I could lure stuff in and get Search the Ruins at the end, hopefully, if I killed my opponent's stuff. My opponent took Vendetta and Search the Ruins. So the game was I played really far back, and my opponent was very aggressive, as you would expect from Reva.
It was Reva. Okay, I was about to ask what he brought Reva. So it was,
yes, he brought Reva.
Gotcha.
So
okay,
he was very aggressive with all of his models. He had Bete that he dropped in my face turn 1. Paralyzed a Thrall, but with the Thralls, it kind of doesn't matter. Like, I activated it, and then I just had Lucius obey it later in the turn, so it was, that ended up being okay. He scored 1 for Vendetta off of that, though, because Bete had Vendetta on the Thrall. He didn't score any more for it, though, because Bete never killed the Thrall, and the Thrall never died in the game.
Nice.
Healing him, so that was really nice. I ended up just luring in Mortimer and what's the new Rezzer chick that summons, she puts down these large 50 mil bases. She gives the mindless zombies Azura.
Azura Rotten.
Yeah. Couldn't remember her name for a second. I lured her in eventually and got her down low. One thing I will say that really helped me out is turn 2, I managed to lure Reva in herself because he burnt a lot of his hand on attacks and on discarding for various things. And I brought her down to less than half health with 2 Witchling Thralls because Lucius was like, obey, drop a marker, all kinds of stuff. So she took a lot of damage, and she ended up just actually booking it turn 3, I believe. She just got out of there as fast as she could, which relieved a lot of pressure on my crew.
Yep.
And so that gave me a bit of breathing room. There were still a ton of corpse markers near me from mindless zombies dying. I had killed, I killed Azura at some point, and so it was still, she could still hit me if she wanted, but that turn at least I had breathing room from her. And so the game kind of came down to, I scored my Dig Graves. He only got 1 for his Vendetta. And then I stopped his Search the Ruins, because I never managed to really take control of middle of the board. Reva was just too much of a beating. She kept my models out of there. But I did manage to stop his Search the Ruins, because he had 3 markers down. And then my last activation, I walked Doppelganger up, and she just, I walked her up next to the marker. There we go. And then Lucius went, because I actually had more models in the last turn than he did, and obeyed her to push and interact. And then she did that and picked
Very
up,
nice.
Don't mind me. So I stopped his complete Search the Ruins, which saved the game, and again put it at a close margin. If I remember correctly, he had, oh gosh, he scored. I stopped 1 turn of ours as well, so he had, it might have been even as close as 5-2, something like that.
Oh wow! So again, a relatively lower scoring game and close. So
yeah.
Well, that's a tight tournament, man.
Yeah. I was feeling it this tournament actually. I had, like I said, I've been playing. I haven't been playing a ton of Malifaux 2nd edition, so it, like, I don't know. This is the first time I played in a while, and I was getting back into it, and I'm like, wow, I'm forgetting a lot of stuff.
Yeah, easy to do in this game.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. So coming out of the tournament, well, first of all, what's the highest you'd ever placed before this? Had you won tournaments before?
Yes. At the, let's see, I've done a few of Kyle's tournaments I've won previously. There was that. So it was going to be a 2-day tournament that Kyle hosted last. It was at the convention out in Des Moines.
Right, and he ended up making it 2 one-dayers, right?
Yep, and I won both one-dayers.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And then then I've gone before that, and so honestly, there's actually a bit of a bounty on my head out there, because I haven't lost a tournament that I've attended in Des Moines yet, but that could easily change. Brian almost ended that, and he would have if there hadn't been some misplays on both our ends. Yeah.
All right. Well, it sounds to me like you might need to pack your bags for Masters come next summer, then, huh?
Maybe, hopefully, if I can keep doing well these tournaments.
That's great. So, coming out of the tournament, was there any particular combination that you really, said, boy, I never realized how good that was, or a model that kind of shone, or what were your big learnings after 3 rounds?
So I actually was really surprised by Lucius's ability to hold up against Reva. As soon as my opponent placed Reva across from me, I thought I was just going to get demolished. Turns out it didn't end that poorly. Lucius had enough little pushes and stuff like that, tricks, that it kept her on the back foot, and the thralls are actually not the easiest thing for her to kill.
No.
So, yeah, so that worked out pretty well, and they could heal back up really quickly. So I was actually really impressed with the Lucius lore list I ran. I will say, another thing I've learned is that the Guild Investigators is just such a silly model. I love that. So one of the things I did, I guess I forgot to mention this, is when the last turn of the game, I killed my own Investigator to drop a corpse marker to trigger the push on the Investigators to push his models away from the marker on the last.
Very nice.
Kyle thought he's like, it's dead, and I know that's how it works, but that's really dumb. And I'm like,
that's a good play, man. Yeah. And it's that kind of play that you've got to get a lot of games under your belt to really even see that possibility, because it's counterintuitive at the front of it, but if you know your models well, you can do that. So I like that play a lot. Well, cool. Well, Abraham, I do appreciate it, man. Congratulations again. Anxious to see you on the podium for any of the upcoming Central Conference.
Yeah, hopefully.
And I fully expect you to qualify. So hopefully I'll get a chance to meet you in person come this summer.
Oh, that'd be great.
All right, man. Have a great time.
Yep.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
Wow, what an interesting play that was during round 1, where he killed his own Investigator to drop the marker to get the push off the other Investigator. That is some second-level thinking. I'll be really interested to see how Abraham performs during Season 1. And like I said to him, I hope to see him at Masters this year. We appreciate you guys subscribing. We appreciate you guys liking us on Facebook, as well as following us on Twitter. Catch you next time on the 3rd floor.